This is serious. I don't think people realize it. It's one thing to say that I don't have jet fuel. It's another thing to say that I had 25% less crop. Instead of 100,000 bushels, I produced 75,000 bushels. And you're going to see that over a large area of the world, because 20% of all of the fertilizers came from natural gas that was it was from the origin was from the Middle East, a lot of it from Qatar. So you have a situation where for 20% of the crops, they're going to be between 15 and 25% of where they should be. And for some farmers who didn't have diesel for their tractors, or it's too expensive, they're going to have a situation where if they didn't get their crop into the ground, or only got partial one, they're going to suffer from there as well. So you're looking at. We don't have
much time left. So this is a spring planting season right now. We don't really have much time left.
So you could be looking at a food shock that would be somewhere between 5 and 7% of the world's food. Well, you say, oh, well, that's not too much, 5-7%, except who's going to suffer? And when you have food prices rising, you're going to have political change. People always blame the incumbent government, whether they did it or not. It doesn't matter. The issue is I'm unhappy. I'm not voting for you. I'm voting for the simpleton who's claiming he or she can solve everything with a wave of their magic wand and make everything good. And that's not going to happen. So you're going to have further disappointment. And this is the kind of stuff. I mean, look at Argentina. Argentina today under Milei. I mean, yes, yeah, he solved inflation by killing the economy. I don't know if that's where he wanted. Over 50% of the population is now below the poverty line. They had problems. I don't think that he created a solution. Creating a greater problem to solve one problem, that's not success. But these are the types of things that are going to happen. You're going to see countries fall. That means greater political instability. And that's going to make things worse. Countries can't plan long term when they're constantly having changes in the government from not mainstream parties, but fringe parties, left and right, each promising, a nirvana. We can do it. We can do the golden age for you. Can they deliver it? No, because you can change governments, but you don't change the problems. You're not going to change the harvest. Right? You're not going to change the price of gasoline or jet fuel or anything like that. So we're looking at substantial problems right now. The markets, the people who are judging are trying to say, well, there's no point panicking anybody. That wouldn't be good for anybody, right? Right. Anybody, that would be us. Okay. We're not self-interest. We're looking out for the greater interest, as they say. But I want my bonus to be big because there might not be economy next year. And this, they're selling people a lot of soft soap. This is a very, very dangerous situation. They keep saying, well, maybe it will result in a recession. Well, it will result in a recession. That's not the issue. The issue is, does a recession turn into a depression? I mean, this is where people have to really start gauging this. And I'm not saying be a prepper and get ready to, for Armageddon to go out or things like that. I'm just saying that it's probably time. And this goes to your original premise. What is the solution? It's probably time for the nations of the world to come together and to solve this problem in the only way that you can. One, you say that the Middle East is going to be denuclearized, which means that Israel has to give up their 120 or 119 nuclear weapons. The United States has to pay reparations for the illegal activity that they did just recently in terms of these attacks. It's going to be far less expensive. The amount of damage they did was $50 billion. They've already spent $60 billion on the war. Right. If every day it's a billion and a half, it'd actually be cheaper to pay reparations or call it something else. But in essence, pay for the damage that we did. Stop the international tariffs on everybody, which is basically just a cynical attempt to pit countries against each other for our benefit, kind of a Hunger Games scenario. And then the last part is to tell Iran that they cannot blockade the Straits of Hormuz for their own benefit. Once they have been, it's agreed that they will get reparations. They have to take the pledge to denuclearize, as are the rest of the region, and agree that there shall be peaceful trade amongst them. I think this is what is good for the people. Now, how do you get that done? You have to have BRICS. You have to have the EU. You don't have to have, but I mean, the greater number of countries that come together, Africa, South America, ASEAN, Central Asia, BRICS, as I said, India, Russia, China, I mean, obviously South Africa, plus all the rest of them there, and then Central Asia. If they come together, you're talking about 95% of the world. And they don't threaten that we're going to go beat you up or invade you. There's no point. It wouldn't work anyways. What would be the point? You're just creating more wars. But you say economically, together, we will cut you off if you violate these terms. And in essence, your economy will die within a matter of weeks, not months, weeks. So Donald Trump is somebody who's particularly attuned to bullies, being one, and he only respects somebody who's bigger than him. If 95% of the world comes up and said it's over, this is what's going to happen, he'll make something up and say, "Well, this was my plan from the very beginning. This is how I'm getting world peace, and I want the Nobel Peace Prize to note that this was my six-dimensional underwater chess move from the very beginning, and now I've solved the world's peace. Give me that Peace Prize." I don't care if they give it to him or not, because it doesn't mean anything anymore. But I think if that's the cost of world peace, giving him the Peace Prize, sure, I'm all in favor of it. Okay, but whatever it takes to bring that to fruition, I do think that the fly in the ointment would obviously be Israel and giving up their nuclear weapons. And then having to admit that they cannot make war with everyone who doesn't, go along with what they want. That would be the other things. But they would get in return guarantees by regional countries, also by other middle countries. And we could just talking about, literally Iran and Turkey and China and, the BRICS, all the countries, just says we will be the guarantor, and our guarantor is not nuclear weapons, it's economy. We will strike where you cannot respond effectively, and if that's the case, I think Iran would be very happy. They would have got what they wanted, which is sovereignty, the ability to go forward with the way it is. This would be, in many respects, a repeat of the Westphalian Treaty. This is a treaty that happened at the end of the 100 Years' War, which was a war between Protestants and Catholics, who would routinely take raiding parties, go into cities, villages, burn them down, kill everybody in them because they were the wrong religion, all in the name of God. And they, if one side did it, the other side would do it, and tit for tat. They got literally to the point where they're so bankrupt and they're so tired of killing that they sat in villages 5 miles apart and sent some guy in boots walk across some muddy roads 5 miles back and forth, delivering messages. And what do they agree to? You be you, I be me. These are demarcations of our borders. On my side of the border, I'll do what I want. Your side of the border, you do what you want. We can trade. We don't have to fight. And that actually ushered in that simple idea that you be you and I'll be me, ushered in the longest period of modern peace and that the world has. And unfortunately, we need to get back to that. We need to realize that countries have their own complexities. They're a mosaic of histories, cultures, languages, and people, and they have to be respected as such. Trying to slice them up into more pieces is not going to create more peace, unfortunately. So, you kind of have to say, okay, we are what we are. Let's figure out how we can govern ourselves. how we can be relevant, how we can establish and a path to development, how we can be secure, how can we be respected, and then finally, when there are problems, how do we get together and figure it out without throwing bombs and missiles at each other? Is there a better way? And I think there is. Now, coincidentally, this is what Xi Jinping has been saying for these many, many years. He's been rolling out these initiatives about security, development, respect, sovereignty, and then also this global governance initiative. And that is something that I think is, it's very simple, right? But it's visionary. It's a return to the idea that no, there's not one cookie cutter that rules the world. We have very complex relations. We have to make allowances for each other, and we have to respect each other. Once you do that, gee whiz, there's so many opportunities out there. So let's hope that happens.
Yeah, indeed. I really do hope this thing gets wrapped up soon because, as you say, right now it's the planting season, and if farmers don't get their crops, we're going to have food shortages at at the end of the year, and the world cannot wait until November for a reset, because by November it will be too late. By November there will already be food shortages.
So November, you're starting to hit the winter crop season and the crop season in the South. There's nothing waits for peace. Planting, the seasons go on despite what we do. So it gets worse and worse.
Let's hope. Let's end the podcast on a hopeful note. and Einar, for people who want to reach you, follow you, where would they go?
Asian Narratives, the Substack. So I do a little writing on there for maybe a couple of posts a week. Really, it's pretty much a lot of stuff that we talk about. Because it's in print form, I try to make it a little bit more organized. My latest piece was just going through how, any one of the scandals that Donald Trump has would have sunk any other president previously. The Watergate break-in, think about it. It was just some stupid guys who broke into the Democratic Party. Yes, crime, but we changed governments, and it had a marked effect on, the future of America. But we have Donald Trump. My goodness, the list goes on, and any one of them we know. But he's been a master of diversion. I think the only way to combat that is not to listen to his daily diatribes, as I call them, his black cats and white rabbits that he, release. He throws a dead cat on the table. Of course, everyone looks at the dead cat, right? He says, and then he throws about 20 bunnies who start walking, hopping around the room. What do the press do? Oh, there's a bunny. Oh, look, there's a bunny. Okay. Oh, there's lots of bunnies. What do they miss? They miss the long term. The fact that we don't have a healthcare system, from a guy who said 18 years ago and said on every campaign that he went to that he had a better healthcare program, and it was only 2 weeks away. And then just shortly before he was elected, he says it's a framework of concepts. And since he's been elected, and he's been elected twice, he has accomplished absolutely zero. He'll talk about lessening the cost of certain medicines. That is not a comprehensive healthcare things. He's actually gone the other way. It's now much more expensive for Americans to have healthcare. He's basically tilted in favor of, guess who? Hospitals, insurance companies. They're the ones who are benefiting, mostly insurance companies. So I say I hope the press will stop following his leads, his pronouncements, and start looking at what policies are working or not working, and then hold him accountable. Ask him questions, not about, whether he's a rapist. We know he's a rapist. He's been convicted for that, or not convicted for. He was convicted of slandering somebody because he said he wasn't a rapist or something. Only in law, right? And that's the kind of thing that we have to do. Start looking at his policies. Make your own decision. If you think he's doing great, fine, vote for him. But if you think that he promised one thing, a golden age, the end to corruption, lower prices, no forever wars. Okay. And he hasn't delivered. That's another thing.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. Follow.
I feel bad.
Every,
Talk too much.
Everyone follow Einar. Follow Einar. Every time I talk to you, I'm getting free education.
I enjoy our conversations much more than I do writing those articles.
Well, it's good to hear. Yeah. That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
And really kudos to you for creating a platform that talks about the issues and things like that. And we can have a few laughs and things like that, but we know it's pretty serious. And I really appreciate your willingness to platform people like myself and others who are talking about these issues. And the fact is, you're one of the few people I know who says, somebody asked me something. He says we should talk about the good stuff and what are the solutions, and that's what we did, right? I mean, too often you run into these podcasts and it's just I'm right. Just tell me I'm right. Yeah, okay, you're right. But you hold out the possibility that we can learn and that we can be better, and I think that's the most.
Well, I like to to get people to think positively. I mean, because we live in dark times. I mean, unfortunately, and I'm a glass half full type of guy, so I wanted to always look for the silver lining. So thank you very much for that.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, very.
All the best.
And we'll have Einar back, everybody, because he's such a wealth of knowledge.
You can't threaten. You shouldn't threaten your listeners that way. Oh my goodness! I mean, you probably lost half your channel just there. Oh God, I barely put up with this guy, and now he threatens me with having him back.
Okay, we'll end on that. Thanks to everyone for listening in. Until next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.